What is up, everybody? Ryan from Sports Card Radio back again. Amazing. Miracles happen. I'll explain why I'm able to do so many podcasts later on in the show. Different feed this time, not on not hijacking my brother's feed. The thing is, if I start doing podcast every week or every couple of weeks, I might end up using up all the space that we have over on that podcast hosting account. And when Con does decide to do a podcast, it'd be kind of embarrassing if he was out of room over there because I had hijacked all his space. He would either have to buy more space or wait till the space that is allotted for what we pay per month gets opened up. So new feed, we'll call this R-rated. It was the best thing I could come up with in 5 minutes. R-rated being Ryan, I guess. You could play off that, but what are we going to talk about today? I got 3 things, a little more spicy today. We're going to talk about allocations. Maybe some of you don't know what that means, so I'll explain what it means. How it impacts you. It impacts you a lot because it basically means these new card manufacturers don't even have to make quality products. I'll explain why. How it impacts dealers, which also impacts you indirectly, but dealers face many other choices there. And I'll advise maybe some of those dealers. It really applies mostly to group breakers, how they maybe can get out from under the pressure that is allocations. Next, we'll talk about the NFL decline in ratings, in interest, in betting. The betting handle's down 4% this year. I scalp NFL tickets. I've had the best year I ever had, but that's only because this is my third or fourth year doing it. And as you keep doing it year after year, you gain a lot of corporate knowledge and basically becomes a lot easier to make money. Or at least you understand how to make money a lot easier. So I've had the best year I've ever had selling NFL tickets, but it's dead. It's honestly dead. I had 2 unbelievable weeks, 2 my best financial weeks I've ever had toward the beginning of the season. The rest of the time it's been pretty dead, which is fine by me because I can catch up on some sleep. And like I said, it's still been the best year I've ever had, but it kind of shows me that maybe this is a little bit of the peak or the downtrend of the NFL popularity. Lastly, we'll talk about, we'll update the Mike Smith, the CEO of Cardboard Connection, and his 5 felony trial that is upcoming. I'm probably the only one who in this hobby that is willing or maybe can talk about what's going on there, provide an update there, and get it going with that. So 3 things for you. Hope you enjoy. So allocations, let's talk about them. Let's talk about a little bit how they work. There's a couple different ways they work with these wholesale distributors. You're essentially getting allocated product based on your prior orders. And I'll go through that as a specific example. Let's say that I'm a brand new group breaker. I've just fresh out of the game, want to get into the game. I got my business license, got everything I need. I got my webcam, everything ready to go. So I Google sports card wholesalers, and oh man, there happens to be a list on Sports Card Radio that has them all: Southern Hobby, GTS Distribution, Peach State, Gold River, Global Sales. I mean, there's literally like about a dozen or more of them in the United States. So I start calling them, and I say, hey, I got a brand new pet count. I want to start group breaking, and I want 100 cases of 2016 National Treasures football. And, you know, depending on the type of sales rep you get, they're going to then explain the game to you. Panini comes out with, I don't know, maybe 40 different football products every year, and most of them are pretty bad, but there's some of them that actually do pretty well on the secondary market, and especially with group breaking. Products like Immaculate, maybe like National Treasures, Flawless, maybe something like Contenders, but really some of the high-end Panini football stuff does really well with group breakers. Group breakers really need these products to do well, to drive business and do well in the group breaking game. So group breakers are trying to get as many cases as they can of this stuff. So I call, one of these wholesale distributors and I say, hey, I need 100 cases of National Treasures football. It's the hottest stuff out, and I'll take it at the that price you have listed on your website, that wholesale price. Oh, and he's going to take a look at my account, and that sales rep will be like, Mr. Ryan, you have, first of all, 0 orders with us. Welcome. And as a gesture, I'm going to get you 1 case here at this price. But, this is the best I'm going to be able to do for you. You can call me back, a week later and reorder and see what the price is then. Okay. Oftentimes it's higher for this good stuff. But that's the best I'm going to be able to do for you, Ryan. You're going to be able to get 1 case. So, wow. Boy, I'm not going to make very much money as a group breaker if I'm only going to be able to 1 case. Now, let's say an experienced, a very, group breaker's maybe been at the game for a couple years now and breaks all the time and is always on whatever live stream breaking product. He's going to be able to call his distributor. They're going to be able to look at his account and be like, wow, dude, you order, $200,000 worth of product every month. That's awesome. And that group breaker may say, hey, I want 100 cases of National Treasures football. And while he's probably not going to get that 100 cases, he's probably going to get 9 to 15 or 20, right? So it's all allocated. The good product that sells, the good product that group breakers need is all allocated based on their prior orders. Okay. And sometimes these are very arbitrary numbers. Sometimes it's based on prior orders for a certain set of products, for a certain year, for maybe a certain month, it could be any number of things. These things can all get made up. Panini and Topps, they team up with the distributors. Believe me, I've had multiple conversations with distributors. They team up because the distributors are oftentimes getting allocated too. Okay, there's a little bit of dance going on back there. How many cases does Peach State get? How many cases does GTS get? How many cases does Southern Hobby gets? That's all based off prior orders with Panini and back scratching and stroking and that whole game. Very competitive business, the distributor business. Back at the Cleveland National, there was actually a fist fight between 2 distributors at an off-site party for the National. It was not widely documented, but certainly widely talked about in the circles there at the National. There is another kind of little form of allocations, and this version is a little more familiar with back when I was selling cards, kind of how they made you buy product. But so maybe they won't do a straight allocation on some of these, like National Treasures, Immaculate Flawless, these big products that group breakers need, but they'll pair it up. They'll group it with another boo-boo product that they force onto these group breakers. Okay. And if you watch a lot of these group breaks, then you're going to probably oftentimes see the really bad products a lot, like in mixers or in giveaways or all sorts of different things. So, for example, maybe I'm a really, high-end group breaker and I'm buying $200,000 worth of stuff every month, and I call my distributor and I say, hey, I want 100 cases of National Treasures. What can you do for me? And he says, well, hey, here's what we're going to do. I can get you 5 cases of National Treasures, but you're going to have to take these 10 cases of black gold football. And oh yeah, that's going to be at full retail. So this is another way that group breakers are getting allocated, that they're having to take on these dumpy products, these dumpy Panini products. Oftentimes it happens on the top side too, but they're having to take on these it's usually a whole bunch of them. It's usually not a 1-for-1 trade. It's usually not 1 case of National Treasures and 1 case of black gold. It's usually like 2 cases or 3 cases of black gold will get you 1 case of National Treasures, right? And so now this is a dance they have to play. So anytime Panini has any excess inventory of any of their boo-boo products, black gold or whatever, Phoenix, countless of these horrible, almost not worthless, but just not worth what they were originally, what they pre-sold at, Panini can just dump these onto group breakers at any moment because they know these group breakers need the good product. They know group breakers can't survive if they can't get multiple cases of these hot products. Okay, Topps knows this too. Topps did this to them on the Mint. Okay, and the Mint did really poorly on the secondary market, so it soured a lot of group breakers' feelings toward Topps because they were forced to take triple threads or something. to originally buy the mint baseball. And the mint baseball was just an absolute disaster for group breakers who couldn't get lucky or get out of it quick or, sell it quick. I don't know how Triple Threads is done. I don't even know if it's even out. But that'll probably be an angry day for group breakers when they get that delivery and have to remember how many cases of the mint they had to eat. But there are just several examples of these. Every distributor maybe works a little different. Maybe every distributor has a different deal behind the scenes with Panini and Topps. That's what you'll probably have to figure out too. I highly encourage, if you ever, get out to an industry summit or a national, it's just so much fun if you're in the room with, group breakers and distributors talking. It's just, wish there was a hot mic in those situations. That would be a lot of fun. Group breakers or dealers lobbying to get, multiple cases of the next hot product. And it's just a lot of fun, distributors paying for $3,000 meals at Atlantic City restaurants. I mean, you hear all kind of different things. You see all different types of things. God, why can't I get into one of those dinners where the distributors, fronting the check? So, distributors just, totally wasted because they have to smooze with all these different people. So you're drinking all these drinks and maybe you're smoking all this stuff. And by the end of the night and by the time the show starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're just destroyed. I mean, that happened a lot in Atlantic City. So getting a little off topic here, but this is how allocations work, especially as the higher you get up into the game. It's really about either how much cash you can front off for these products or how the dance you're able to do with these allocated products. So what it does is it forces these group breakers to do these creative mixers. They're having to take on all this dumpy product that they're having to creatively sell. Maybe they do giveaways where they just price the giveaway into the spots. There's multiple ways you could do this. I'm sure these guys have gotten creative over the years, but that's basically what happens on your initial order. Now, oftentimes after the product's been out a week, and if it's hot, if it's doing really well, then guess what? The next time you call them, maybe you can get quite a few cases, but it's going to be for a lot more money because Panini holds some back. The distributor may hold some back. They maybe kind of team up and release a little kind of first wave. And then the second wave, they charge you X amount of money. There's a whole dance that goes on between Panini, the distributor, and then to ultimately the group breaker or the dealer, and then down onto you. So you get impacted by this a lot because you're getting charged to buy this dumpy product a lot of times, or you're getting forced to, you keep wondering why is this group breaker on his 40th case of black gold football? Well, it's because he had to buy those 40 cases to get all the good product that he was able to run out in a couple weeks because it was hot and it sold. So it's a very, interesting thing. I've heard some group breakers say that no industry is like that. I actually disagree with that because I oftentimes face this when I scalp football tickets. And there was an example this year where I bought a season ticket package to a pretty lowly college football team. They probably won't make a bowl game this year. They're about 500. And I wasn't really sure. It was just a shot in the dark to buy these tickets. And I remember on the first game of the season, they sent me an offer where I got 50% off tickets and I could buy however many I wanted. And I've, never made so much money on a football game in my life. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Now the rest of the year didn't, they're not a very good team. So the rest of the year, I maybe broke even or lost money on the tickets, but golly, what a great deal buying that season ticket package, even at break even. Because it got me access to get these half off tickets. And I mean, I really took advantage of that. There are many examples of this. Right now I'm buying baseball packages into next year. So, I would imagine Cubs fans are going to travel really well, especially during the summer months or the good weather months or during the very, very beginning of the season. Cubs fans are going to travel really well. And those road games, those weekend road games, Friday night games, Saturday night games, maybe a Sunday afternoon games, those are going to sell pretty well in most ballparks, at least above or around face value. So I'm just taking shots in the dark on a bunch of, they have the 17 game pack with the Cubs series, or they have the, half season pack with, and you get to pick certain games. They do this all the time. This happens a lot in ticketing where to buy these tickets, I've got to buy all these other tickets, right? And so you're just working that math out in your head and how you're able to sell them or how you're able to get out of them. And if it's even worth it, 98 or 99% of these packages that these teams throw out aren't worth it. So I want to highly, just as on a side, you think, oh, I can just log in and start buying all these season ticket packages and sell them. Don't do that. Don't do that. Again, I've been doing this for 3 years. I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I just take shots in the dark in order to get playoff rights access. That really helped with the Indians this year. This podcast is sponsored by the Cleveland Indians, guys. I mean, they were selling tickets for like $24 to that. It wasn't just the Cubs series that was hot, guys. They played the Red Sox in the first round. The second round series was the Blue Jays. I mean, that's an ALCS series. And then, the Cubs tickets were selling for several thousand. And I think they were like, God, boy, poor Cleveland there. I think the face value on those were only like $100 or $200. I had some, not many, but you'd be happy with what you can get there. Anyways, allocations. My advice to group breakers who are so reliant on this new product and hot product, and trust me, these distributors and Panini and Topps, they know this. Okay, and they do care about you guys on some level. But trust me, at the end of the day, it's about them making money, not you. So my best advice, you don't have to quit group breaking, but you're really going to have to diversify your business some way. I mean, on the last podcast, I talked about how the vintage card market is on a 6-year bull run. If you haven't taken advantage of that in some form or fashion and you're a quote-unquote sports card dealer, that's what you group breakers are. You guys are sports card dealers. The vintage card market's been on a 6-year bull run. If you didn't learn that game and take advantage of that, it should open your eyes there. A lot of, some of these group breakers are able to run hobby shops or go on the road and do shows. And they combine a lot, and they maybe have a big eBay account and sell singles, doing all kind of different things. Varying degrees of success there. I've seen, guys come and go in that venue too, where they have a shop and are group breaking, and then all of a sudden that all shuts down. It's tough, guys. It's not easy. Trust me, I lost $20,000 on a sports card shop, and I just made my last payment on a loan that I had to take that out. I literally just paid that off, so that's gone free and clear. But you shouldn't lose $20,000 on a group breaking business because it's a lot less expensive. But be very careful when you're going into brick and mortar. If you told your buddies that you were going to open up a Blockbuster Video store or a Ty Beanie Baby store, sometimes, guys, those things are about on the same level as baseball cards in some circles. So be very, very careful if you're opening a store out there, you're thinking about it and thinking about it in any way getting into this card game. Be very, very careful. Oftentimes I'll talk about very simplistic ways to make money on cards. Check out my cards, simple little flipping strategies, setting up websites where you're putting up affiliate links and so forth. More simple ways. Anytime you're getting into brick and mortar retail or you're loading up on product, guys, that's pretty risky. The NFL is on decline. I've already talked about with in terms of sports tickets, but I was listening to a sports betting podcast the other day, which is really good. It's an ESPN one. It's called Behind the Bets. They were talking to the guy, and the guy who runs the Orleans Sportsbook in Vegas. I think he said it was the betting handle was down 4%. Maybe you've noticed you're not as interested in fantasy football as you are this year as you were in past years. Daily fantasy football has been outlawed in certain states. You've certainly rarely, if ever, see a DraftKings or FanDuel advertisement anymore, whereas about a year ago, it was all you saw anywhere you went was FanDuel and DraftKings. So that got shut down or temporarily stalled, but trust me, that ad money's never going to come back there. On a side note, we could see a kind of a respike if they eventually, like if sports betting gets legalized. That would be pretty interesting. But I was over there. I've seen a lot of different excuses. There or reasons, excuses for why the ratings are down, the tickets are down, the betting handle's down, the fantasy interest is down. Several people on the Blowout forums mentioned that the Colin Kaepernick situation drove them away from the NFL. I was a little surprised by that. I mean, I live less than an hour away, so I guess maybe I'm kind of numb to it, and that type of protest is fairly common for a number of different things out here in California. So it's certainly nothing I would ever do in my life. I mean, I love the national anthem. You know, I've been to, 500 games in my life. So the national anthem is always like a really big deal for me. And hearing a good national anthem is incredible. And I remember sitting fifth row at the Warriors playoff game last year. And after the national anthem, I would have gave every dime I had to get on that court and play. I mean, it was just like, I was ready to go. So a good national anthem should really charge you up and get you the emotions flowing. Kaepernick, I mean, he's a dumbass. He's from Turlock, which is an hour from Stockton, which is the capital of dumbasses. So it should be no surprise that this guy's an idiot. But I was surprised that like several people were like, wow, Cap kneeling, that drove me away from the NFL. So, I mean, it was a serious situation there. Many other, flags and fines and ticket prices. Hey, guys, ticket prices are pretty cheap right now. Call me if you need some NFL tickets. Ticket prices shouldn't be pretty cheap. Depends when you buy them. Buy them 10 minutes before you enter the stadium. That's my best advice. So the NFL's down. How does this affect Panini, who's in the first year of like a mega 80-year exclusive with the NFL? Wow, what an epic failure that could be if the NFL has any kind of downtick, and the downtick could be big, guys. MLB baseball could rise above them again. NBA used to be more popular than the NFL. That could change, guys. Things change in America, as you've seen maybe over the last few weeks or month here. Things can change quite a bit. People's taste, people's interest, they change quite a bit. I haven't some of the college. First year I got into scalping college football this year. Wish I would have got in this a few years ago. I've noticed robust sales of college football games. Those games tend to be more interesting. Maybe as many flags, but maybe bizarre flags, and it gets you more involved in the game because you're sitting there yelling at the SEC refs because they're so horrible. I mean, I was watching a game today where it was, I mean, I'm confident I could have reffed the game better. But yeah, and you see more big plays in college. You see more trickery. You see all types of different things in college that you don't. I mean, NFL games are very, very scripted. And if you've ever, followed fantasy enough, you can almost, it's scary how you can almost pinpoint how these NFL games are going to go. So scary stuff for the NFL because trust me, guys, if this goes down, wow, Panini, what a disaster that's going to be. And this year is amazing because they've had two incredible rookie performances, at least. Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott in normal years with Topps cards would be blowing up the hobby. Now, maybe small circles they're blowing up the hobby. I'm sure their cards are selling for a lot, but trust me, guys, they're getting no interest. There's no outside interest for this. Yes, their cards are going to sell for a lot. I understand it. And here's an aside. My brother has been talking about Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott probably on these podcasts for over a year. It's shocking how he predicted that. I mean, if he was able to buy Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott stock, then the guy would be a millionaire. He's been telling me about these two guys for over a year, and I'm just like, I don't, whatever. Yeah, cool. Yeah, whatever. And it's shocking that these two guys are driving the hobby. And in normal years, these would be even a bigger story because you'd have Topps Chrome rookies, you'd have their 5-star, you'd have all this top stuff and this Panini stuff, and they kind of be battling. But with this Panini stuff, there's only going to be small circle interest in it. Cowboys fans are certainly going to be into it. So maybe they get away with it this year with the exclusive. But what happens when, next year the best guy's on the Jaguars, or he's on the Browns, or he's on my lowly 49ers, or he's just on a bad team that nobody cares about, the Titans. At the end of the day, people don't care about these teams. It's super spicy that Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are on the Cowboys. I mean, this should be a much bigger hobby story. It should be much, more important than their cards. But trust me, it's not, guys. It's crickets. It's because it's an exclusive license. It's because it's Panini. And it's because you've seen a downtick in the NFL. How shameful is that? Cowboys are finally back. Probably going to make the playoffs. Probably could go far. Lord knows what can happen in the playoffs. And the NFL's on a downtrend. The NFL's on a downtick. Imagine when they're not any good. When Dak gets hurt next year, or holds out for a contract, or Zeke, like every running back, eventually fades. I mean, Todd Gurley, there was a thread in the Blowout forums here that it's the title of the thread was, "Is Todd Gurley the worst running back in the NFL?" I mean, it's like Trent Richardson all over again. Curtis Enos and what was his name? Curtis Benson. I mean, there's been bust running backs for years and years and years and years, and maybe they even have one good year, but then the rest of their career's a disaster. They blow out their year in the third year. Running backs, guys, are a dime a dozen. So, wow. I mean, this is shocking to me. The NFL's downturn. I'm certainly going to take precaution next year when I'm getting all these renewals for season tickets, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to ramp up next year. Well, now I'm going to price in that there is a decline, and perhaps we're going to see a further decline. My guess is we're going to see a further decline and not a ramp back up in the NFL. Unless Joe Montana comes out of retirement or somebody super exciting. That's obviously tongue-in-cheek. Joe Montana's like 50 years old, but it certainly would drive up the prices of the 49ers games, baby. I'm going to be buying a bunch of 49ers tickets. To me, those are undervalued compared to what I'm seeing Raider tickets selling for, to what I know Warriors tickets sell for, to what I know when a hot San Francisco Giants game. A lot of money in that area. I don't think that's going to change, despite whoever's president or what's going on, unless we get some kind of downturn. I think San Francisco is going to be all right. I think the sports market here is hot. I'm going to be buying a bunch of 49er tickets, but these rest of these teams, it's going to be tough to get that renewal. I'm going to have to see that schedule before I hit that renewal button. I know that. I'm going to want to see that schedule and know who's on that schedule first and foremost. So, boy, NFL downturn this year, really sad. But, hey, time to focus maybe on some more entertaining sports like the MLB, the NBA, maybe soccer, whatever you like. Maybe it's time to now dip back into those sports if you've been focused too much on the NFL lately. Michael Smith, the CEO and self-proclaimed CEO and owner of cardboardconnection.com. So over the past several months, I've received, I'll just put it this way, lots of people reaching out to me about Mr. Michael Alexander Smith. I've reached out actually to Cardboard Connection a couple different times just to confirm and get something. And of course, it's totally 100% crickets over there. Not even so much as a email back or just saying, hey, it's not even him, nothing. So absolute stone cold crickets from Cardboard Connection. I have reached out a few different times to a few different people who work there or write for them or however it works. I will say that there have been people who have criticized that I called this guy out. First of all, for several years, this guy had a lawyer. I'll get into him in a second, but had this lawyer write a column. It was called Law of Cards, where he basically tore apart every single legal statute that happened in the card game. How do you think those guys felt? How do you think Richard McWilliam felt when he was getting called out in those Cardboard Connection articles? How do you think his family felt? How do you think a number of people that were going through those lawsuits that generally remain somewhat private, how do you think they felt when they were getting blasted all over Cardboard Connection in these Law of Card articles? These guys felt like crap. And trust me, a few of them have reached out to your boy here for some indirect retribution I got there. on that. Second of all, this lawyer who used to work or does work for Cardboard Connection or whatever, Paul Lesko, this guy's a freaking joke. First of all, check his record. The guy is a nothing lawyer. He recently, or him and his buddy who have this like $200 a month office in Tennessee. It's like in the super ghetto or whatever, or wherever it is. You can look it up on Google. These guys are a joke. They have no clients. So they had to create this lawsuit with Topps because they have no clients. Guess what, guys? There's a big misperception about lawyers out there that you go to law school and you must be super smart and you're going to come out and be rich. That doesn't happen a lot of time. In law school, they don't teach you how to get clients. That's a whole different ballgame. And if you don't go work for the DA or become a public defender or kind of grind your teeth in some kind of government kind of lawyer job, you could be struggling for years, if not your whole life, trying to get clients. So these jokers, Paul Lesko works at Cardboard Connection, wrote these Law of Card articles. Him and this lawyer who looks like he's fresh out of law school, look like he's 20 years old. You can look these guys up. They sue Topps for some stupid, I don't know, totally stupid thing that there was a misprinted card on the Topps Now website and they want them to print it. Guess what? They didn't. There was somebody on the Freedom Cardboard forums that basically went through the whole thing. And apparently there's a clause in the Topps website that anything you order and any type of disagreement, legal disagreement you have, you are bound to have that arbitrated in New York in a non-court setting. So guess what? That court case is going nowhere. Those guys had no clients. They were sitting around smoking weed or doing whatever. Thought, hey, well, it'll be fine. I know a little bit about these baseball card companies. Let me sue them. So those are the type of idiots that have and do work at Cardboard Connection. These guys are a bunch of idiots. Trust me, if you're a lawyer, it doesn't mean you're rich, doesn't mean you're smart, doesn't mean you're a good lawyer, doesn't mean you have clients, doesn't mean you've ever tried a case in your life. Why do you think this quote-unquote lawyer wrote for Cardboard Connection in the first place? Because he was a crappy lawyer and he had no cases. The guy's a joke. Michael and Alexander Smith has hired a lawyer, Ben Smith, out of Marietta, Georgia. There is a lot of information, and what I'm going to try to obtain is the actual indictment. Now that the NFL is on its big downtick here, I have a lot of time here. I can contact the Cobb County Clerk, Superior Court in Georgia there, and I will try to get a copy of the indictment, because that will tell us everything we need to know about what happened on these multiple felony offenses, this aggravated assault and 2 counts of terroristic threats. There have been several little kind of pretrial hearings and motions and discovery, and I'm not a lawyer or a pretend lawyer, so I'm not going to try to dive into those. It looks like there are several opportunities where the lawyer and the courts are going to kind of get together. One coming up even on Monday, November 14th, potentially another one on December 1st. What usually happens in this, usually it doesn't go to an O.J. Simpson type situation. Usually there's some kind of plea agreement and this gets pled down to a misdemeanor, a couple misdemeanors, or 1 felony. It's really going to be what's in this indictment. So this is a little bit of a tease here, because I'm going to have to contact the Cobb County Clerk of Superior Court, get a copy of this indictment, find out what happened, and report back then. And trust me, I will report it. I'll put it all over the website. And hey, if it's O.J. Simpson and he beats this, trust me, I'll be the first guy to put that he was not guilty and put that information on the web. And I'll definitely be leaving it up, and definitely be leaving my Twitter ad up. Highly recommend Twitter ads out there. All you guys are blasting Twitter all day and sitting there. God, what a waste of time. Guys, just put up one ad of your best piece of content and run that for an entire week. It's you could get it down to like 3 or 4 cents of engagement. And here's the tricky thing. Here's how I was following this web security company, and there was another company who targeted that company on Twitter and used promoted ads to say what a joke that the security company I was following was. And I was looked at that ad and I was like, that's the greatest ad I've ever seen. So in some sense, that spawned why I started using Twitter ads, because I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So you can guess my Law of Cardboard Connection CEO scandal. Guess whose account that gets targeted to? So it's almost counterproductive for them to tweet now, because guess what? When somebody brings up their tweet, chances are there might be a little ad underneath there that is mine. So that's a little gangsta Twitter for you. You guys can get out there and run any kind of ads you want on me. Trust me. Say okay with me. Means a lot more to these guys at Cardboard Connection and Beckett and some of these guys who are grinding each day on it than it does to me. I'm gonna peace out. I got $20,000 worth of tickets to buy this week. Have fun. See you guys later.